Okay, welcome everybody back here. We got another talk to Chris. Now, obviously, this is some extra stuff. It's going to be a short video. So, Chris, I want to talk to you a little bit about video games. When did you start getting into video games? Well, I got into video games, I remember back in like maybe the late 80s, the early 90s. And it's funny because I I don't really like the new, like, I haven't played the new Mario games. I think I do have them, and I could still play them still, but I don't know. I just, Mario is a great game to me. But I like the Nintendo Mario games or the Super Nintendo Mario games, and, it's not that I don't like Mario, but out of the series, it's just not one of my favorites. I love Mario, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Other than the three Nintendo games and the Super Nintendo Super Mario World, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it. But who knows? One day I'll play it. But that is definitely the first game I ever played. So I think that's when I really got into video games. Was back in the day. Mario was the first game I ever played. So, how did you get into big popular games that you like? Sonic I played because obviously back then, back in the 90s, Sega was a big game, so I played Sonic then. I don't remember how I got into Twisted Metal. Maybe one of my friends was playing it. I just don't remember. But I remember at Games Club, because there was a video games club at high school. That's where actually I met Joe. There was a games club, and we used to play a game called Smash Brothers, which I love. And I was really hoping that Joe and I could have played mostly all the games, all the video games with all the main characters in there, like Donkey Kong. I played all the Donkey Kong Country games. I remember playing them with Peter, who's another friend up in Canada. Um, I also played Metroid with Joe. But the one thing I wanted to do with Joe is I wanted to play all the Zelda games with Joe, and Joe was just a pussy. He didn't want to do it. I could have picked the game, he could have picked the game, but sadly it didn't happen. But I remember, and it's funny because at the very beginning, at the very opening, when you start your start screen on the Raspberry Pi, which is like an emulator which has all the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega games on there, one of the videos shows a clip of a character, Zelda, shooting the bow. I'm sorry, not Zelda. Link shooting the bow at Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. And I says, I want to play that game. So I played Ocarina of Time. I fell in love with Zelda right then and there. I loved Ocarina of Time. So then after that, I started playing, I played Zelda for Nintendo. It was pretty hard. But Ocarina of Time, I was like, this game is not that hard. It was when you first play it, but after that, I'm like, this game is pretty good. Like, I really enjoyed Ocarina of Time, and now I can beat it with the back of my hand. Then I played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess after that, and I was like, Twilight Princess, man, like that's just as good as Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. The Wind Waker was okay. I mean, when I first played it, because I really didn't understand the game yet, I had to watch a walkthrough online first to understand it, and I actually put walkthrough CDs. I know it's gonna be weird because I'm probably never gonna hear them, but I'm listening to a walkthrough CD of all the games like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess. So, I played every Zelda game after that, and some of them I like Skyward Sword, for example. I love the game, but I hate that we got to use a Wii remote. I like Links Between Worlds was good. The Oracle Ages and Oracle of Seasons was good. Minish Cap was good. Link's Awakening was good. But I don't know. I mean, Breath of the Wild was good for an open world. Like, I love Metal Gear Solid. It's one of my favorite games. But Zelda's also up there, too. But, um, Breath of the Wild, I love that it's open world. I just didn't like that there's no dungeons. And Metal Gear Solid, I kind of lost interest with the newer games just because I don't like the open world games for Metal Gear Solid. Like, it would have been cool if it was an open world where you get to fight like bosses, but I don't know. I really did not like Phantom Pain or Ground Zeroes, but that's just my opinion. So, all right, I want to talk to you a little bit about this. I know you said you fought with wrestling dolls and wrestling action figures. did you create any other games? Yeah, it's funny. When I was a little kid, like I loved hockey, and I got back into hockey in 2000. I remember back then I played a little. I did what I did is I had like a my mom had a dresser drawer, and obviously what I would do was I would grab a bouncy ball and I would throw it off the wall, which was cool. And I'd be like, I would have like a table or something, and with legs, obviously, and I would be like the goalie, and I would have to stop the shot from going in the net, which made me look cool. Like I don't know. And then shortly after that, I kind of played ice hockey for a little bit, and then I kind of was like, it's too much money. But I wanted to do that. I thought it was cool. I actually made a game where I made like every hockey team in the NHL. I kind of said, well, they're gonna have a XHL. I made a league called the XHL, which was like the Extreme Hockey League. That's what I called it. And so like, it was like 1 year I actually had Buffalo in the championship, I think, and they lost to Colorado. I had every team that was in hockey except for Vegas because I did it when they only had 30. So it was kind of weird. Like I don't remember what I think I called them the Buffalo Wings. And then I called them the Colorado, I don't know, maybe the Rockies, I don't remember. But I came up with a little nickname with everyone. Some of them were cool, some of them were kind of like, eh. Like Vancouver Eels, I think that was a good nickname. I call them like the Pittsburgh Lemguins. I'm like, I don't know. So, but then after that, I did a beanbag thing with the game where I'm like, okay, different colors are going to compete against one another. Now I'm doing that with boomerangs. I'm only going to do boomerangs probably until 2022, and then I'm going to stop. But, the one thing about boomerangs is I could go further than 2022 because it's good exercise, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I continue doing the boomerangs. Boomerangs is probably the only thing that's like not weird doing, but it is kind of weird because, I actually talk while I do it and I'm pretending I'm an announcer, but, it brings me pain. It brings me joy because I'm exercising. I'm outside. So, All right, last one before I let you go. And now, like I said, this is going to be a short video. What got you into amusement parks? So what got me into amusement parks? I don't know. The first amusement park I obviously went to, I believe, was Fantasy Island. And, back then I was kind of like, I don't want to do rides. I don't want to do rides. And my dad's like, I'll give you a dime if you do a ride. And I remember the first roller coaster. I love roller coasters. The first roller coaster I ever did was the Predator at Darien Lake. And you got to remember, back then they only had like 2 roller coasters at Darien Lake. So the first one I ever did was the Predator. I can't do the Predator anymore. That just jerks my neck. I can't do that one. I don't really like wooden roller coasters. They just jerk your neck. But one of my favorite ones, and it still is one of my favorite ones at Darien Lake, is the Viper. I love the Viper. Don't get me wrong. The Last Ride or Superman, that's a wonderful ride. I love it. But here's the thing about the Viper. I can get on that and sit anywhere. Superman, I have to be in the very, 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 very far front. I just have to do it. So then after that, I kind of was like, you know what? I have to go to America's capital of amusement parks, which is Cedar Point. I did it. I had to do it. Everyone talks about the Dop Thrill Dragster. That's one of my favorite rides. And I actually have a magnet on my fridge about that because that's one of my favorites. And then I went to the Mall of America twice and I did the roller coasters. The roller coasters there were kind of cheesy. They were good, but I was glad I did them once. And same with the West Edmonton Mall. I was glad I did it once. But, if you're looking for a really cool mall, definitely go to the one in Edmonton or Minneapolis because those two are the best malls. I know Mike went with me with the Minneapolis one. He never did for Edmonton, but it is what it is. So now, obviously, that's pretty much everything you love. Is there anything that you wish you could enjoy that you don't currently like, or I don't know. I'm very. It's hard for me to be pleased by something new. Um, it's interesting because my last girlfriend, her and I fought over disc golf, and now I play disc golf. So it's kind of weird. Like, I don't even think of her when I even play it. I'm just like, eh. Like, here's the thing. I threw it once. I didn't get it. I threw it twice. I didn't get it. And then I threw it a third time. She's like, you got a 4. I'm like, no, I didn't. I got a 3. When you throw it 3 times, it's a 3. You know, when if it's a par 3 for golf, it's the same thing with golf. If you hit your first shot and you don't get in the hole, okay, that would be a hole in one. If you get a second shot, that would be a birdie. If you get a 2, and then if you get a 3, you par it. That's literally what it is, and she doesn't understand, and that's what made us break up. So she was too argumentative anyway, so I don't miss that bitch. Do you miss any exes? I think the only one I maybe miss is Cindy. You know, Cindy was a good person, you know, but and that's the thing too. Like, I look at this, like, I can't do cats, and that's the thing. Like, I like Emily. I really do like Emily a lot. It hurt me that we couldn't be together, but I understood it. I understood that we couldn't be together after that because I said, even if she did want to be with you, you can't because she's got a cat, which is true. And hopefully one day I'll find a girl who doesn't have a cat. Like, that's the main pet peeve for me. My ideal girl is to find a girl who doesn't have a cat, that likes hockey or not sports at all, because I like the Steelers, so it's not going to really work for me. So, is what it is. Other than the Sabres and the Steelers, is there anything else that you love that's still alive? I don't know. I mean, The Simpsons, but I kind of wish The Simpsons were dying just because they've been on forever. But God, I'm almost like The Simpsons is almost as old as me. That's sad. But, it would have been nice to see Rush one more time. Sadly, it's not going to happen. When I'm sad about The Undertaker being retired, I'm not sad that The Undertaker's retired. I just, like I said, I think, like, part of me with The Undertaker still being there is I think what I was hoping for is that the Attitude Era could be resurrected and Triple H and Kane and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and The Rock and Stone Cold and Kurt Angle could all come back and wrestle, and they can't. Like, and I think that's part of what I was going through in my mind with Undertaker. I'm like, no, Undertaker shouldn't retire, but with the wrestlers today, I get it. Undertaker has no one to fight today. All the wrestlers today are awful. I get it. It's just sad because, like, wrestling was a huge part of my life. I loved watching wrestling in the 80s with Hogan, Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. Like, and that's the thing, too, because I work second shift and I'm never home for Raw and SmackDown. And that's the thing I keep telling myself. I'm like, Chris, you loved wrestling back in the 80s and 90s when you were home to watch Raw every night, every week, which is true. I used to want to watch, my mom let me stay up every night to watch Raw and SmackDown, which was awesome. And I would kick my mom out of the living room to watch it. I'm like, I have to watch wrestling. Wrestling's on tonight. So I watched Monday Night Raw every Monday from 93 maybe until like 2006. Once The Undertaker started becoming part-time and he only fought like a couple times a year, that's when I stopped watching Raw. I watch it once in a while. Like, I can't stand wrestling today. Sorry, Steve. I don't like it today. Like, I like the women. That's about it. Like, I hate the men wrestlers today. AJ Styles is the only good wrestler I like, and he's got no one to compete with. I mean, Orton's cool too, but The Undertaker's already fought him. Drew McIntyre's cool, but they already were in a match together. Undertaker and Seth Rollins were in a match. Roman Reigns, like King Corbin. It is what it is. I know a lot of people are saying The Fiend and Undertaker should fight, but Undertaker kind of already fought him with Bray Wyatt, so. This has been Chris Hayden. Thank you so much for this short interview. Thank you.